Hey guys, welcome back to Joanne's Learning Hub. Today we'll be learning about coordination and response. So we'll be covering three main topics: the nervous system, reflex actions, and the eye. The human nervous system allows us to make sense of our surroundings, respond to changes, coordinate and regulate body functions. So there are two parts of the nervous system in mammals: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system is made up of all the neurons outside the CNS. There are three types of neurons: sensory neurons, relay neurons, and motor neurons. So sensory neurons carries impulses from the sense organs to the CNS. Relay neurons are inside the central nervous system and they connect the sensory and motor neurons. Motor neurons carry impulses from the central nervous system to the effectors, which can be a muscle or a gland. Now, receptors are cells that detect changes in surroundings, which is called stimuli. Effectors can be muscles or glands. They respond to a stimulus. So how exactly does the central nervous system coordinate a response? Firstly, the stimulus is detected by the receptors. This information or stimulus is converted to an electrical impulse and it is sent to the CNS along the sensory neurons. The CNS then coordinates the response, which means that it decides what to do. The impulses travel in CNS along the relay neurons. Then the CNS sends the information along the motor neurons to an effector and the effector responds to the stimulus. So what are reflex actions? Reflex actions are rapid, automatic responses to certain stimuli that do not involve the conscious part of the brain. So this means that our body reacts without us having to think what to do. The passage of nerve impulses in a reflex action from the receptor to the effector is called a reflex arc. So the reflex arc goes through the central nervous system. When a stimulus is detected by the receptors, impulses are sent along the sensory neuron to the CNS. Then the impulses are passed along a relay neuron via a synapse. A synapse is a junction between two neurons. Then the impulses are passed along a motor neuron via a synapse. The impulses travel along the motor neuron to the effector. Now, from the effector, this causes the reflex action, which is a rapid response to a certain stimuli. So here are two examples of the reflex arc. One is in the leg, when the toe is touching the pin, and second is the hand, where the palm of the hand is touching the candle. How a nerve impulse is passed along a synapse. Synapse, as we had seen before, is a junction between two neurons. It consists of the ends of two neurons, which is separated by a synaptic cleft, which is basically the synaptic gap. So first, an impulse arises at the end of a presynaptic neuron, which is basically the neuron before the synaptic cleft. The vesicles inside this presynaptic neuron moves towards the presynaptic membrane. The neurotransmitter, which is inside the vesicles, diffuses across the synaptic cleft to attach to the receptors on the postsynaptic membrane. So the postsynaptic membrane is basically the membrane which is after the synaptic cleft. This triggers an impulse which travels along the postsynaptic neuron. Because the receptors are only on one side of the synaptic gap, synapses make sure that impulses can only travel in one direction. Sense organs is a group of receptor cells that respond to a specific type of stimulus, which can be light, sound, touch, temperature, or chemicals. We have 5 sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and hand. Moving on to the structure of the eye. Now, the cornea is a transparent outer layer that is found at the front of the eye. Its function is to refract or bend light into the eye. The iris contains muscles that allows it to control the diameter of the pupil. The pupil is the hole which is in the middle, and therefore the iris can control how much light enters the eye. The lens function is to focus light onto the retina. The retina contains light receptors, some of which are sensitive to light of different colors. The optic nerve carries impulses from the receptors on the retina to the brain. The point where the optic nerve leaves the eye is called the blind spot. So there aren't any receptors there and it is not sensitive to light. The fovea is a specific area on the retina which contains only cone cells. Our retina contains two types of receptors, which is the rods and the cones. Rods are mainly found on the outside edges of the retina. They are very sensitive to light, so they work well in dim light, which is like at night. There is one kind of rod which gives information in black and white. So rods give information in black and white, they do not give information in color vision. Cones, on the other hand, are less sensitive to light than rods and they work best in bright lights. Cones are packed together in the fovea. There are three kinds of cones which give information in different colors for color vision. Now, what is accommodation? Accommodation is a reflex action in the eye. It is the change or adjustment in the shape of the lens to focus light on objects at different distances. In this case, the light from the object is coming from a huge distance, it's very far. So the ciliary muscles relax, which allows the suspensory ligaments to pull tight. This makes the lens go thin, which means the lens is less curved and it reflects light by a lesser amount. In this case, light is coming from a near object. So our ciliary muscles is contracting, the suspensory ligaments is slackened. The lens becomes fat, which means it becomes more curved, so it refracts light more. Now the pupil reflex is another kind of reflex action of the eye and it is adjusting based on the light intensity. So in bright light, the circular muscles contract and the radial muscles relax. So the pupil becomes smaller so that lesser light enters. In dim light, however, the circular muscles relax, the radial muscles contract so that the pupil becomes larger and more light enters the eye. So that is the end of the video, the first part of coordination and response. Do remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you.